Beards on Breen. Beards on Breen. Beards on Breen. Beards on Breen.
Here. Dot. Now. Neil Breen's 2-disc, 5-feature film retrospective arrived in the mail today. A lot sooner than I thought it would. So I figured, well, let's do a reaction video. So, I mean, this is the first time I'm watching this. Like I said, it just showed up a couple hours ago, and it was $159.95. That included the shipping, by the way. You got 2 discs. They are burned DVDs with white printing on the top. These are not all 5 of his movies on 2 discs. This is a retrospective. As he says, it's not a documentary. In case you don't know, or this is your first time here, some friends of mine sat down and we watched the movie, and then we discussed it afterwards in the form of a podcast called Beards on Breen. So I guess this one, because the other fellas aren't here right now, this is just going to be a Beard on Breen. That turned into the podcast called View and Spew Review. We are on YouTube. The audio-only versions are on SoundCloud, RSS feed to pretty much everywhere, iTunes. I believe there's a Spotify channel. You can go to viewandspewreview.com, and it'll take you where you need to go for the Cult Classics AZ network and all the other things. So right now I have the menu screen up, which is the background for Twisted Pair, but it does actually have menu selections on it. So he does have this broken up in chapters. So there's first choice, play entire DVD. Underneath it, it says introduction, then budget, scripts, film production, character images, and lighting. So that looks like this is the entirety of disc 1. A little background on me: I did go to film school, unlike Neil Breen, who says he did not. Which I'm sure he'll explain that again throughout the introduction. I didn't graduate film school. I actually went in a different direction in my life after leaving film school. So I know some things. I've seen some things. I've done some things. Let's dive into Neil Breen now.
Hi, this is Neil Breen. Over the past
Hi, Neil.
few years, I've been asked a number of questions about my filmmaking process.
So he's in his editing studio.
Me, Neil, how have you been able to do this? I get questions online all the time. Neil, how have you been able to write, produce, direct, act, and self-fund 5 theatrical, independent feature films? So I thought I'd take this time to put together what I'm calling a retrospective of how I've been able to do that. What my process is. This is not a documentary on how
I love how he emphasizes that it's not a documentary.
Feature films. That would take hours and hours and hours to do. As it is,
Wow, this is still going to take hours and hours to do for a retrospective. Okay. I'm interested to see how he edits all this together.
Be creative.
Okay, so went from his studio, went now to his couch.
Use your imagination. That's what the media is all about.
But I'm sure most of these are just one take, first takes.
Entertaining the audience.
Maybe a second take. I'll give him that benefit of the doubt.
That's what your goal should insight into making larger, medium budget, visionary.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, this needs to be in like every film school.
Production, I'll discuss.
I mean, I'm fine with everything that Neil is doing right now.
Both
I mean, this is just the introduction.
and digital distribution. I'll then discuss
Already
theatrical
almost 5
distribution.
minutes. Introduction?
My
Yeah, you should probably
most
wrap up the
recent
introduction.
films have played in major cities. Marketing.
Really, an
How
introduction should
I've
only be a couple
taken it
minutes.
upon myself to create a new themes and storylines of the 5 films.
So we will go into some themes and
Once
storylines.
again, utilizing all of the
I mean,
categories that
I'm not
mentioned
expecting him to answer any
previously.
questions
So I think at the end of the 5 hours, you
as
will
far
come
as,
away clear
what the little
on
red
how I
dot
do what
means,
I
or,
do relative
double
to
moons,
filmmaking. You'll come away on
the Man in Black,
thematic cinematography
the
and
the
visual
cats that just kind of move on their own.
that I'm very. There were 2,700 people in the audience at this single screening of Twisted Pair. This is their reaction.
No, we screened it at Alamo Draft House in Tempe, Arizona. My request, my push for that Twisted Pair, and it wasn't completely sold out, but is I think maybe 70%. Yeah, at the end of the film, they were like on their feet, clapping and screaming and yelling Neil. It was really something else. I don't remember the last time I saw something like that. So I would have no reservation of having his next film in the theater again. That was way fun.
So it's very important for you to be professional, adhere to all the standards, guidelines, requirements, and so on that you've been taught in film school. Filmmaking is a collaborative team effort. As the indie producer,
He's just showing
director, you will be
himself as he's saying it's a
communicating with
collaborative
variety of
team
experienced
effort.
People, cast, crew, rental companies, location
I have not
owners,
seen one other
distributors,
person
lawyers, theaters, local and
in
state
this other than
approval
Neil.
agencies, insurance companies, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
You can't
The introduction
make
was
a
27 minutes
professional
and a few seconds long.
theatrical feature film
Now it just
without
switched over
money.
to budget. I have to pause it.
Well, let's talk about that in a couple different levels.
He kept using the same footage and just repeated. I don't know how he edited this. Probably in a lot of different pieces. I don't get it. Anyways, we're going to move on to budget in a minute or two. Oh. Budget.
First category is money, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever the case may be. You can't make a professional theatrical feature film without money.
And he said that in the
Well,
introduction.
let's talk
I mean, this
about
is
that
it.
in a couple different levels.
I believe this
Where
is still
are you
the
going to
same.
get the money to do
Take.
your film? You're going to get it from your family.
No, this one
if
might be
they're
different. This might be a
incredibly
different tangent.
which is probably not the case. It wasn't in my case. My recommendations, as far as money
I'd invest,
goes,
Neil, if I had the money.
those being the scenarios
I did. I
that
mean, this
just
cost me
mentioned, is number
$159.95.
one, get a
I should
real
get like
job.
a
Get a real job, and I say that with all
special
due
thanks.
respect. When I say that my films were low budget, that term is relative. My
Yeah,
films were
consider that.
expensive to make. This section of the retrospective is
Well, I
my
mean, you really
approach
just you
to
rented that studio.
script
You'd have
writing
build that green screen studio. I mean,
creative.
yeah.
as a filmmaker. In the audiences.
Oh, now we're on to
informing
scripts.
the
I'm sorry, budget was
audience.
done. Now we're on to
That's
scripts.
what your goal should be.
Couldn't even
That
tell like where
achieving
it
that
crossed
goal
over. I guess when he was on the
will
green
reward
screen
you both creatively and
studio.
financially. I write
where
my
he said he's not going to tell you what his
stories
budgets
and
were for his
screenplays
previous films.
every film that I've
I mean,
done,
budget is usually something you talk about
I've done
later.
more
Now he's onto scripts.
technically.
I mean, I think scripts would be the first thing that you would do. I mean, like where do you start from? Concept.
The challenge, figure out how they were done.
This is all just a blend because now he's talking about
accomplish
effects.
them, and so on. Social commentary without being preachy. In other words, I'm sort of laying out the
Social
obvious
commentary without being preachy.
in the commentary
That's
I'm
Neil's.
directly or indirectly making, which appeals to me a lot as well. The script.
There you go, a big pile of scripts on
I've
his
got
lap.
many scripts for all my films. The way that I write scripts
There we go. Now we're talking
and
about
develop
scripts.
them is that during the course of, I may think of a thought. I may think of
I think of a thought.
something,
I might thought of a
situation
think.
relative to characters. I'm just going to collect cards. I have a box and I put them all in. And they're really reminders.
So he's only. I mean, it's kind of like a Dadaist approach.
Keywords,
He just puts the
instances, or
index
situations
cards
and
into a
phrases
little
or thoughts and
box,
concepts that I want
and then
to
when he wants to make a
eventually
movie, he just
incorporate
pulls them out and then just like sticks them all
into,
together.
The script down on paper, because if you don't write them down, you will forget them. What I would do
That's
is,
because you're old,
I
Neil.
wish I had a war room.
I am
where
too.
could
I
put
gotta
them
write
all
shit
up on
down
the
all
wall,
the
but I
time.
don't have that. So I put them all
No
out
worries.
on my living room floor. 300 of them.
I know a lot of people that
Then
don't
I
write
would
anything
and
down.
Obviously, you spend hours
If I'm
and
teaching them
hours doing
something,
this stuff.
showing them
But
something,
then I would
it boggles
go
my
through
mind. I have to
every
write everything
card
down. I've always
and
been
begin
that
to
way.
put
I prefer it that way
thought,
too.
Location,
But that's
idea,
I guess that's just Neil and myself at this
whatever it
point,
was
as far as
that
what I know.
triggered, and you keep going back and forth, back and forth.
See, so this is the first time that
You
he's
didn't do
actually
card number 42 for some
talking
reason. So you
about
go back to
stuff
card
that
42 and it says,
is actually practical and useful.
That's what I wanted to do. And then
I
you
mean,
write the script.
really, come on.
That's how I work. I use their format.
I wonder if people,
So in the end,
or if in his
you
mind
wind up with a normal,
he thinks other
professionally
people
structured, shooting, working script. It's probably about 120
think of him
pages.
as unprofessional.
A
Because he
theatrical
mentions
feature can't
being
be less than
professional
an
a
hour and
lot
half
in this.
total
Like his
time,
approach is all very professional.
as far as the film plus credits go. That's your target.
I mean, I don't
Anything
think any of
less
his
than
films
that, it's not a real feature.
feel like they,
And then there's all
were
kinds
done
of
in a
other
weekend
issues
or
that make it
something.
a true feature
I
as
mean,
well.
quite honestly,
A state of
that's why
work
you
in
prepare. That's
progress,
why you
but
write
you must
3 or
have
4
a
different
finished
drafts of
script
something and
to begin with.
figure it out ahead of time before you even
The
shoot
speaking
one
of
frame of
finished
film,
scripts,
as they say.
What I do is the ultimate in writing a script, I'd love to eventually get involved with other people can generate dialogue and other thought processes and storylines and so on.
That kind of surprises
The
me.
advantage is that going into a film, an independent film,
That he would actually like write a script
of
with somebody else.
theatrical feature film quality.
So budget and scripts. The scripts one was actually really good. Once he actually got into the meat and potatoes of what his process was. The budget thing, that could have been explained a little bit better, and maybe I don't know. It just kind of seems these are going to be jumping around quite a bit, as far as the expectation of the order that I would prefer them to be presented as. If we can keep the level of what he was describing in his writing process for the rest of it, helpful things. So now we are into film production, and it will be interesting to see what film production actually means to him, because that could mean many different things. Okay, break time.
Beards on Breen. Beards on Breen. Beards on Breen. Beards on Breen.